What's going on YouTube? I am dukedobbins, FTW, and today I wanted to talk about how Pokemon Go is making the world a better place. The central premise of this game is of course that you move dead ass, you go. And what's brilliant about this is that it solves one of the most serious dilemmas of modern times by making exercise more than a chore. Throughout most of human history, exercise was just a part of your day-to-day existence. You know, most jobs required physical exertion, most recreational activities required physical exertion. Getting from point A to point B always required significant amounts of physical exertion. But with the rise of cars, television, computers, and video games, our species has created a world where exercise is essentially obsolete for many people. A lot of us don't ever have any reason to exercise, other than that we need exercise. Many health experts actually refer to sitting as the new smoking because it's killing us and we don't realize it, and we're doing it a lot, especially us gamers. And so our problem right now is that the only incentive we have to exercise is that it's good for our health, which is more than enough reason to exercise. But the fact of the matter is, that by itself does not make exercise fun or interesting. Exercise in its current state, for most of us, is a chore. I mean, back in like PE or football, you know, they used exercise as a punishment, right? Run to the fence and back, or some shit like that. You get in trouble with the football coach, you gotta do push-ups, or run laps, or whatever. And it was an effective-ass punishment because most people hate having to do that kind of shit. Now, there are, of course, plenty of people who get really high off exercise and consider going to the gym like one of their recreational activities. And more power to them. I'm happy for you, Grease, I really am. But I know that that's not the case for most of us. The truth is, for most of us, exercise is something we procrastinate the shit out of. If we bother to place any value on it at all, we find excuses not to do it. We avoid it whenever we can. Now, I say this as someone who has done their fair share of conditioning. You know, I ran track and played football in high school, as I've talked about before, and I remember this one time we lost the game and our coaches were fucking pissed at us because we'd been goofing off in the bus before and after, and we lost by a lot, and they thought we weren't really trying, and I spit on this guy's head outside the window of the bus, and we were in a lot of trouble, all of us. So the next day they had us do 100 yards of Georgia Tech, which is where you have to bear crawl that distance, but stopping to do 2 push-ups every 5 yards. And then we had to run 10 gassers, which are 100-yard sprints, and then we had to do another 100 yards of Georgia Tech, and that was the first time I threw up from exercise. The second time was when we had to run bleachers in 104-degree weather, direct sunlight, and I was hungover as shit. And I had dozens of shitty stories like that, and by the time I got out of high school, I was a little traumatized by exercise, to be perfectly honest, and I took a vow that I would never exercise again. I remember thinking, I don't give a fuck what's healthy and what's not, I'm sitting on my fat ass for the rest of my life. But that was a mistake that I ended up seriously regretting because I made that vow right around the time I was trying to start my gaming YouTube channel, and what I would learn to my great displeasure later on is that exercise is incredibly important if you want to be good at video games, or for that matter, any mental task, like making videos as well. Because your brain power is impacted significantly by how much exercise you get. Various studies on mice and men have shown that cardiovascular exercise can create new brain cells and improve overall brain performance. These studies suggest that a tough workout increases levels of brain-derived protein known as BDNF in the body that helps with decision-making, higher thinking, and learning, all incredibly important intellectual tasks in gaming. It increases the production of cells in the hippocampus, improving your memory, not to mention it boosts the happy chemicals in your fucking brain like serotonin and endorphins. Many doctors agree that exercise can be more effective than actual antidepressants in preventing depression. Exercise reduces anxiety and stress, allowing us to control our emotions that much more effectively, which is incredibly important in online multiplayer games, which are known to cause plenty of stress, frustration, and rage. So I should have been exercising every day back then, because that's when I needed it the most. What I'd say to any gamer trying to get better at whatever game, the first thing you should do before you even go and watch some tips and tricks vid on YouTube is go out and get some exercise. But of course, we're fucking gamers. Nobody has a harder time exercising than us because we always have something more fun we could be doing. It's really hard for me to get my fat ass on a bike when I know I could just get high right now and play some Rainbow Six Siege or some Gears of War Horde. And what makes exercise so unappealing, I think for many of us, is that exercise for exercise's sake is pretty boring. It's like a chore. It requires physical exertion, obviously, but I don't think it offers the mental or intellectual stimulation that so many of us crave and which draws us all to gaming in the first place. I ride my bike from point A to point B and then from point B back to point A, and that's exercise, but what am I doing? I might as well just be sitting in a room doing nothing, except for the fact that I'm having to exert myself physically. Exercise is boring, but there are times when that's not the case. There are times, obviously, when exercise is plenty of fun. My favorite form of exercise since the end of high school has been a pickup game of flag football. It's casual, it's relaxed, but it's a lot of fun, and you get a whole lot of exercise, and you won't even realize because you're not measuring the shit in minutes or weight, but the next day you wake up and you're sore as fuck because you were running hard, and in reality, you exercise even harder when you're having fun, when you have a goal, when you want to win. And if I had enough friends in the local vicinity, I'd play some flag football every day, and it would never be something I'd procrastinate to try to get out of. In that scenario, exercise isn't a chore, it's something you look forward to and enjoy. And when you have that kind of exercise available to you, you're gonna get a lot more exercise, period, because human beings are more productive when we're happy. Every study shows we are more productive, efficient, creative, and personable when we enjoy what we're doing. This is why places like Google have arcade games and bean bags and ping pong tables, and their employees move around the facility on motor scooters, and they're allowed to doodle on the walls and shit, because Google caught on early to the science of play. Their employees are excited to go to work every day. They're happy to be there. And Google has concluded that that makes them better workers. And now this has become common practice in the tech industry and beyond. If you were to visit any tech office today, you would find beanbags and ping pong tables. These toys and the playful environment makes work less of a chore that they might not even be doing if they didn't need the money. And so long as exercise is a chore, so long as it's something that people don't enjoy doing, it's going to remain something that 80% of people don't do enough. For the many of us who see exercise as a chore, something we have to do as opposed to something we get to do, Pokemon Go is the ping pong table and the beanbags. It makes us more likely to exercise more often. And it's fun. It's something we look forward to. And it's a great tool for staying motivated about getting physical activity in every day. It's a solution for the millions and millions of us who don't have easy access to an enjoyable physical activity. For those of us who don't enjoy doing power circuits at the gym and don't have enough friends in the area for a pickup game of basketball or whatever else. And granted, Pokemon Go isn't the end-all be-all solution, but it's the greatest example yet of how gaming can add fun to activities in life that otherwise would be lame. It's an ingenious, brilliant idea that I hope will be expanded on in the future. One idea I thought that would be super cool is if they combined VR with spin bikes. So you're just spinning in place, but you put the VR on, and it's an online multiplayer bike race against other people, and it's like able to track how fast you would be going, even though you're, stuck in place because it's a spin bike. I guarantee you'd be biking a whole lot harder than if you were spinning in place like normal, and it's a fun little competitive video game, and you beat people, and then you get, money, porn. When you enjoy something, you're going to be infinitely more motivated to do it, and do it better, than if it were something you have to do because you'll face negative consequences if you don't do it. It's funny because as terrible as I was in school, I barely graduated, but on YouTube, I'm basically doing all the same shit that I was terrible at in school. Research, writing essays, public speaking, group projects, logic, and debate, and yet I think I'm pretty good at it now, and the only difference is that I really enjoy the work now. It revolves around topics that I care about or that interest me, and the work is more than just jumping through hoops for the sake of jumping through hoops so that some arbitrary academic overlord will decide that I'm worthy to move on to the next arbitrary academic overlord. The work has real rewards, and it has value to other people, even if it's just killing 15 minutes of time before they go to bed or whatever. That's always going to be a more satisfying incentive than the project you do that you don't give a shit about, and the teacher doesn't give a shit about because he's already seen a million different versions of it. He's just going through the motions, the same as you, and nobody else besides you two will probably ever even see it. So there's a hollowness, a pointlessness that pervades schoolwork, and then you don't care about it, and it doesn't excite you or interest you, and you're not going to be good at it. And this is why incredibly gifted and talented people still get told they are of below average intelligence by whatever school they went to. And there's a part of all of us that says, well, just tough it out. Just fight through it. Just get motivated. Look at the right inspirational quote memes on the internet. Pain is weakness leaving the body. Just do hard work and get through it. And that kind of mentality is certainly useful and often necessary, but only in small doses. It will never be a long-term solution. You understand? You can only choose to be unhappy for so long before you give up. You are human. Yes, there are inevitably times in all our lives when we have to deal with some shit we don't want to deal with, and we have to man up and push through it. But that will only ever carry you so far. There's a reason that gyms explode in membership right after New Year's, but then are back to normal by March. Willpower comes in finite quantities. Instead of forcing yourself to do something, try to find a way to make that something fun. And if it isn't, maybe you should do something else. There are people who work hard, and there are people who work smart. Life is too short to waste it trying to tough out a bunch of shit you hate doing. And try not to be too hard on yourself simply because you have an aversion to doing shit that bores you or makes you unhappy. The For the Win query of the day is, what is something you hate doing that you have to do a lot? This is Batman, signing out.